So, Margaret, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. You are a talent acquisition manager, a career blogger, interview coach and training, and you have helped technology companies hire, attract the best talent for commercial and technical roles across Europe. I came across your profile and I couldn't wait to jump on a call to learn more about you. So please introduce yourself to my audience.
Thank you for introduction. So yes, indeed, I am a recruiter and interview coach. In terms of my recruitment work, I've recruited for 15 years now for technology companies, mostly software companies and e-commerce companies, typically big US companies like Microsoft or Cisco or Expedia, also some startups in the SaaS space, and some mid-sized companies as well, always in the technology space. And as a recruiter, I have recruited very internationally. I've recruited for all corporate and technical functions in most countries in Europe. I've done actually some recruitment in the Middle East in the past. It was many years ago, but I've done some recruitment in Dubai in the past. I've done some recruitment in the US as well. And also as an interview coach, which is something I've been doing for the last 14 and a half years. I have helped over 1,000 of job seekers get the jobs and promotions they wanted. And again, I've worked with people from many different sectors. So in my recruitment work, it's all technology, different functions, but technology sector. But as an interview coach, I've worked with so many different functions from, corporate and public sectors, or private and public sector, and many different functions, all corporate functions, but also, nurses or teachers or pilots or, people working in local or central government. So yes, a number of different positions. So yeah, happy to share any kind of insights that you might be interested in.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You've got a wealth of experience under your belt. And I think now more than ever, and I would love your insights on the market. Probably technology is something that's really expanding, and probably, from a recruiter's perspective, but also from a skill set perspective. Are you seeing that?
I mean, are you saying if there are still opportunities for work? Do you mean the technology sector?
Growing.
Yeah, I mean, I think since the pandemic hit, I think the job market has definitely been affected. And I would say every sector has been affected. Obviously, some sectors have been affected more than others, right? We all know that hospitality sector, event sector, airlines, travel in general, these have been the sectors that have been hit the most. And I have some personal friends working in those sectors, and they're really struggling. It's really hard if you haven't done anything else. It's easier said than done. Oh, just requalify, do something else. But it's very hard because there are so many people looking for jobs right now. But in general, I think in terms of technology, I've still seen jobs throughout the pandemic. I think there are more candidates looking for work, but it just all depends on your skill set and what companies are looking for. I also have some friends who work for big companies like Facebook or Google in recruitment teams, and they were still hiring, but they were hiring a lot less last year, and they didn't hire any new recruiters. They didn't actually let anyone go, but they didn't hire. So there was definitely a slowdown in hiring. But in general, yeah, I think the roles are still there, but it's a lot more competitive. It's definitely a lot more competitive. So I typically do recruitment and coaching. And when I was looking for my last recruitment contract, I have seen jobs that had 900 applications. It's just insane. I have a girlfriend who works in marketing in Chicago, and she didn't actually apply for the role because it wasn't quite her skill set, but she's seen this social media marketing manager role, 2,500 applications. I mean, how do you even look at that? I don't think you can, So I've not ever dealt with those volumes, and I'm working now. It's definitely not that level of volume, But again, the roles I recruit for, they are quite specific. Right now, they are roles within data and engineering. They are pretty specific. So you will never get like a huge amount of applications. You typically actually need to go to the market and headhunt the candidates with the skill set that you need.
This brings me to maybe 2 points that I want to cover. First of all, when the market is so saturated, there's thousands sometimes of applicants. You from a recruiter's side, what would you be looking, or how do you differentiate talent versus another person's CV or LinkedIn profile? And what are you looking for? Is it the CV, a cover letter, or how do you identify the talent, and off what platforms?
Yeah, I mean, so I think firstly, how do we look at CVs? I think, what recruiters are looking for is the relevance to the job. So, okay, actually, maybe firstly, how we look at talent. I think there are different ways of looking at talent in terms of, If you are an internal recruiter like myself, you will, typically, I think just to make a distinction, there are agency recruiters and there are internal recruiters. It's just that, it's all talent acquisition is slightly different. So if you're an agency recruiter, you work for an agency and you work for a number of different clients trying to find candidates for specific positions. So the agency recruiter will only really consider you if you are a pretty perfect fit for the position that the client is looking for. Because if you're not, the client won't pay, 15, 20, 25% of your fee. So often I hear people saying, oh, but my recruiter didn't find me a job, but that's not their job. The job of an agency recruiter, they don't work for you or me as a candidate. They work for the client. So, I think it's a great idea if you're a job seeker to connect with some recruiters in your space who recruited for the types of roles you are interested in. But I would not rely on them. Like the job responsibility, the job search is really our responsibility as job seekers. And then internal recruiters will be just like myself, who work directly for the company that you're interested in. And we typically, it's like we both receive applications for specific positions using applicant tracking systems. So people who will apply via LinkedIn or Glassdoor or Indeed or just our career website. But also most recruiters will also do headhunting. So we will go directly to the market, typically using LinkedIn, identify candidates who seem suitable fit for the position, and we will approach them. So that's why if you are looking for work, it's so important, especially in a corporate environment, that your LinkedIn profile is really updated. And I could do the whole, I have a whole module in my online course on how to optimize your LinkedIn profile for LinkedIn. In fact, I actually recorded a training. I can send you a link. Trisha, I can send you a link that you can maybe link under this video, because I have recorded a training on how to optimize your LinkedIn profile to attract recruiters. And I think most people will find it quite useful, because recruiters look for specific keywords. Look, does this person have relevant experience to do the job? So I'll be looking, at the types of companies they've worked for. How long have they done the job for? Like, how relevant is the experience to the requirements? Do they have a stable career history, or have they changed jobs every few months? There might be reasons for that. It might be that you got made redundant. It might be that you worked in a contract roles. All of that is fine, but you just need to explain. But typically recruiters will be looking for, is there a career progression? Does this person have relevant experience? If it's a technical position, have they used these specific technologies? Have they maybe worked? It's not necessary for every role, but sometimes it's easier to hire someone who's worked in a similar industry or for a similar type of client. And then obviously the look of the CV, like, are there spelling mistakes? What's the organization like? And I think one very important thing, like, does this person have an achievement? Because the single biggest mistake that people make on their CVs or resumes, it's the same word, I'm using that interchangeably, is that they don't have any tangible achievements. So a lot of CVs I see, and I'm sure you've seen that as well yourself on a day-to-day basis, but just to really emphasize from my perspective as a recruiter, the biggest mistake I see is that people don't have any achievements. So often I will receive applications, and honestly, the 20 CVs look exactly the same. They all have done similar things. They're responsible for this and for that, but I can't tell how good they are based on their CV. So please make sure that you remove all of the responsible for and duties included from your CV, and just have your CV that's very achievement oriented. So I know it's difficult to quantify every single bullet point on your CV, but still think, how did I make an impact? How did I add value? So even if you work in a really junior position as, say, an admin assistant, as an example, yes, because you might think, oh, well, like, it's easier to quantify experience in certain roles. Like if you work in sales, you can say, oh, I've increased sales by 20%, or, you can do things like that. But even if you work as a receptionist, instead of saying answered phones at the reception on your CV, you could say something like, received 500 calls per day, or maybe not 500, but received 100 calls per day, effectively routing them to 10 different departments. So quantify your experience, provide some numbers. If you've done something that saved time or saved money or made money or streamlined the procedure, then do that. So I think that's a really important thing. Like, always make sure that when you apply, tailor your CV as well. Tailor your resume, your application to specific positions. Don't send the same CV to different positions. So, sometimes when we look at different positions, it might just seem, that looks the same. I would just send my resume without looking at it. It's a very big mistake, because it's a better idea to send fewer applications, but tailor them to specific positions rather than just have this spray and pray approach. And don't think that the more applications you send out, the more interviews you will get, because that's absolutely not the case. You are likely wasting your time and the recruiter's time. So it's better to research the opportunity, and it doesn't have to take long. We're talking of a few little tweaks, like make sure you have a summary section or core competency section, and make sure that the keywords from the job description, the main things they are looking for, make sure that these are the first things that the recruiter sees when they look at your resume or your LinkedIn profile, and then make sure you have some tangible achievements. So that's really, what recruiters are looking for. I mean, of course, there's more. It's like how the resume is organized. I think there are different kind of standards in different countries. So I would say, normally you shouldn't really have more than 2 or 3 pages on your resume. I know there are differences if it's like a medical resume, or the ones in academia, they're different because they have a list of publications. But I'm just really talking of most jobs, you really shouldn't have 2 or 3 pages. I have seen resumes of 11 pages. I mean, it's just insane. Mind you, not in the UK. I think no one in the UK does it, but I've seen that in some countries. So, and I think there are different standards as well. Like in the UK, you would not put a picture on your resume. You would not do it in the US either because of the discrimination. You don't want to be accused of discrimination. I've seen loads of pictures in the Middle East. Maybe that's a standard. You tell me, actually, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Fine, if that's the case. So in the Middle East, I have definitely seen pictures. I've seen actually in some European countries, but UK, you will not do that,
It's a prejudgmental, an opinion. Before you even read the document, it's human nature. You look at the photo and you form a judgment about the rest of the document, which is disappointing to see. But I wanted to maybe just come back to the point where you said there's so many applications and it's a great CV, but I think these days you have to do more than just a strong resume, because as people become empowered, there's a lot more education readily available about how to write a great CV. Yes, there are a number of poor resumes, but increasingly people are becoming aware of what is a strong CV. So I think, that being said, there has to be much more broader approaches to be taken to be successful. Is there anything else you could recommend from a job search, or maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, great point. Yeah, I mean, I think, strong resume is one thing, but that's in itself is not necessarily enough. So it is a really competitive market right now. And what I would really advise to everyone is don't just rely on job boards to look for work. I'm not saying you can't get a job like that. I got jobs like that. I got jobs from LinkedIn. So I'm not saying you can't. You absolutely can, because I think I also see job search coaches on LinkedIn saying, oh no, there's this, massive hidden job. I mean, is there a hidden jobs market? Well, yes, of course there is, because there will be jobs that, often company or the hiring manager will ask their team or their colleagues, do you know of anyone specific for the job? So that's really that hidden job market. In general, the more connections you have within the companies you are interested in, the higher your chances of hearing about opportunities that potentially, might not be advertised. But honestly, in my experience, these jobs are still advertised. So yes, the hiring manager might ask, okay, well, who do you know? And they will consider referrals, but honestly, most jobs will still be advertised. So while I do think it's a great idea to network within the companies you're interested in, so really what I would recommend, have a list of, firstly, when you look for work, make sure that everyone knows what you are looking for, because sometimes people are maybe ashamed that they're looking for work, or they don't want anyone to know that they're searching. They feel but there's nothing to be ashamed of. But at the same time, be specific, because if you just tell me, oh, I'm looking for work, let me know if you hear of anything. What am I supposed to do with that? It's just too generic. So it's better to say, instead of saying, oh, I'm looking for work in sales, you can say, let me know if you hear opportunities. I have 3 years of experience in, software sales, and I'm looking for mid-sized software company, So again, that's much more specific. Now I can remember. So be specific about what you're looking for. I would say create a list of target companies that interest you. So have a list of, 20, 30 companies and really research them. So connect with recruiters who work for these companies. You can find them on LinkedIn, but also try to find potential hiring managers. So, I mean, let's say you are, I mean, as an example, a marketing manager, who would you normally be reporting to? I guess it's going to be a marketing director, you know, chief marketing officer, depending on the company size. Find this person on LinkedIn and send a personalized email. And again, I have a template on my LinkedIn actually profile that, again, I can send that to you, you know, maybe you can link it under the video. I have an article on LinkedIn on template you can use to increase the chances of a hiring manager responding to you. Obviously, you know, you need to tailor it based on your research. So I would say, you know, create a list of target companies, connect with recruiters there, connect with hiring managers, potentially contact if you are quite clear on what companies you want to work for. You might want to contact people to conduct some informational interviews. And now during those informational interviews, you're not really asking people for a job, but you're asking for information. What is it like to work there? You know, just maybe more about the specific job, you know, what's the day-to-day like? And, you know, if there was an opportunity in the future, who would be the person hiring for that? So I think there's quite a lot, and you know, finding potentially some recruitment agencies. I'm not saying don't use them, because I've used them successfully in the past. There are some really great ones out there, but just don't rely on recruiters to find you a job, because as I said, they will only contact you if you seem to be the perfect fit for the job they have. Otherwise, you know, they have a lot of candidates and
Amazing.
You know, on their client. So yeah, there's loads I think you can do. And yeah, another thing, you know, be active on LinkedIn, and that's why I will share that link, you know, to that training. And again, it's on my LinkedIn profile, but I'll just send you links so you don't need to search. Most recruiters, I would say, at least most internal recruiters, we will use LinkedIn to find candidates. So if your profile isn't optimized, we might not be able to find you if you don't have the right keywords. So
I agree. And I want to maybe just touch on that. First of all, thank you so much for that valuable information. It's really, really great. And so much so where, you know, I've never had a call with you, and we actually reciprocate the same message to my audience. So it's really good to see this synergy. So thank you. I wanted to come back to LinkedIn. So from a talent acquisition or a hiring manager's perspective, what are you generally typing into your searches to be able to find your talent? So for example, are you looking at location, job titles? What is your search criteria?
Yeah, I mean, it's search criteria will depend on the job, but that's exactly that. I will look at job titles. So I would look at possible job titles, right? So let's say I'm looking for someone, you know, say in sales, I look for maybe sales, depending on the level, right? So maybe I will look for sales executive or sales manager, or, you know, whatever, you know, whatever the job requires. Then you would look at location, yes, and then you would look at the keywords. So like, let's say I'm looking for someone who sells SaaS, then obviously SaaS will be my keyword, you know, and potentially other keywords from the job descriptions. There's a lot of Boolean searches that you can do as a recruiter. So it just really depends. But again, mostly it's the hard skills, right? Because while your soft skills are super important, that's not what I'll be looking for on LinkedIn, because of course everyone will say they have amazing communication skills, etc. So it's more the hard skills. So just make sure that you have the skills listed on your profile, both on your, or really just on your LinkedIn profile. Whatever the keywords often listed in the job descriptions, make sure that these keywords are listed on your profile.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think, you know, personal branding, and yes, you mentioned that hard skills are really important. And I agree for the tech industry. And again, as more and more people take on maybe extended tasks, or they upskill themselves, they've been out of employment and they start doing these courses, they can then begin to list hard skills because they have taken a course or they've practiced. So they want to show that they can do it. But I think maybe, and this is my opinion, you know, that this is again where personal branding can then take you to the next level. So you would view a LinkedIn profile, you would view a CV. The first thing you do is go and find out, who is Trisha Chapman, you know? So you go to and see, you know, is she active? Does she have a good, not really necessarily follow account, but engagement, or, you know, a wide audience to be able to support what she is talking about on her platform?
And I would say that depends on the role, because if I'm looking for, you know, I don't know, some kind of IT person or someone in finance, I don't think it's relevant if they're active on LinkedIn, honestly. I mean, they want to be, if their CV is amazing, if they have the right skills, I really don't care how active they are on LinkedIn. Honestly, some people are not. And I just know some like really senior people who are just not active on LinkedIn, but they still have a good reputation in the industry. They're just not. They're just like not good at that. But at the same time, you know, I think if you work in a position where you are client facing, that's super important. So I've seen someone a few years ago, we were looking for someone, I can't remember right now, but say account director or sales director in Germany. And basically, this person had barely any connections on LinkedIn. We're like, no, no way. I mean, if you've been in the industry for a few years, you should have a big network, you know? So I think it's more important for some roles than others. But, you know, in general, I do think it's important to expand your connections, whether it's LinkedIn or elsewhere, because the bigger your network, the higher your chances of getting hired and hearing about opportunities. So in general, I would recommend it to everyone. But I just, at the same time, I don't think it's essential for every single job.
No, that's really, really great feedback, and I guess it's good to have all perspectives. So I want to say thank you very much. I think that you have provided so much valuable information to both of our networks. And how can people get in touch with you? And more so, what services do you offer, if any, to the community that you could share?
Sure. So my website is www.interview-coach.co.uk. I will send you my website so you can share it under the video. The main service I provide is interview coaching. I help people prepare for interviews. I don't do resume writing. That's your job. I mean, if someone doesn't need a new resume, but they just need some tweaks, I can absolutely advise them on what to change. But I just don't do the resume writing from scratch. Mostly I help people prepare for job interviews. I can help them with their resume and LinkedIn profile as well, but just not in terms of doing that for them. And again, I can share more information, but I have a lot of free resources on my website as well. Again, I can share the link. I have a one page where I've compiled all my best articles on how to quantify your skills how to quantify your experience, or how to create achievements on your resume. That article I've mentioned about how to increase the chances of a hiring manager responding to your LinkedIn is there as well. So I will share it, and I will send you a link.
Amazing. And I would love to have you back on my show to be able to go through in details interview tips and tricks.
Sure, absolutely. That's another big topic that we could definitely cover. But just if I could give one advice to anyone who's currently interviewing, I would say back up your answers with examples. Don't just say, oh, I'm great at this and that. Like, you need to have examples, you need to prove it. So prepare some examples of how you've added value, how you've saved time, how you've made money, how you increase the reputation of the company. Whatever it is, just make sure that you have enough specific tangible examples that demonstrate that you have the skills you need. So don't just tell them, show them. So that's really, there's a lot more that goes into that, but that's just like one thing. A lot of people give very generic answers that don't make them stand out in job interviews. So it's just important to provide evidence. So if you have any numbers, if you have any percentages, that's always going to help you get the job. Happy to discuss more another time.
Yes, fantastic. Margaret, I would love to have you again. Thank you so much. It has been information filled, and I will be popping this up on our network for everyone to be able to.
Fantastic. I'll share my network as well. So thank you everyone for watching.